Yo, what is up everybody, it's J3 and welcome back to another Naruto reaction video here today. And today we got a brand new video by the great Swagkage, and as you can tell with the title, it is How Strong Was Kakashi with Both Sharingan? Alright, so DMS Kakashi is a character that is very, very hard to gauge as far as power due to the limited time span we had to witness what he was capable of, right? We saw him blitz Kaguya, right? He was crucial in the defeat of Kaguya Otsutsuki. He had a Susanoo. He had the ability to use Shuriken and Kamui, Raikiri, you name it. He was extremely formidable to the point where he was able to tag Kaguya Otsutsuki, who, by the way, happened to be even stronger than Kaguya at the beginning due to her absorbing, I believe it was the Infinite Tsukuyomi, if I'm not mistaken. She had absorbed something that made her, quote-unquote, exponentially times stronger and faster, as said by Black Zetsu. So he basically tagged Kaguya at full power, arguably, with Dual Mangekyo Sharingan. That's extremely impressive. And that implies that he is God tier. That version of him is God tier. That is definitely something that is almost a fact. You can't really refute that. But as far as where he is exactly in that tier is something that is quite debatable, and I can't wait to see what Swag has to say about this one. But before we begin, and let's really appreciate it, hit that like button, turn on bell notifications to stay updated with yours truly. And if you're new and you enjoy and you mess with the kid, make sure to hit that sub button, man, because once you do become part of the family forever. But let's not waste any more time, screen. Let's see what Swag says today.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Swagkage here, and today we're going to be talking about something that I think is fairly interesting, and that's the power of Kakashi with two Sharingan, often referred to as DMS Kakashi. Now, just for the sake of total clarity, the version of Kakashi I'm talking about is from chapters 688 and 689. This Kakashi had two Sharingan, could manifest the perfect Susanoo, and played an active role in the defeat of Kaguya. I wanted to make this video because, while I've already talked about Kakashi in the past, I've never extensively talked about this version of him, and recently I've noticed a lot of people don't seem to understand just how powerful he was at this point. I think it's fairly common for people to believe he'd lose to somebody like Ten Tails Jinchuriki Obito, but I've also run into people who believe that Madara, Hashirama, and in some cases even members of the Akatsuki are stronger than him. To be blunt, none of these characters are on Kakashi's level. As a matter of fact, at this point it's possible to argue that he was stronger than both Naruto and Sasuke. Now obviously he only had this power up for a very short period of time, but I don't think that's relevant here because I'm a lot more interested in how strong Kakashi was when he had both Sharingan than I am in anything else. There are probably some fights that you could throw this version of Kakashi into where the time limit would be relevant, but we don't even know how long that time limit is, and the idea with this video is to prove how strong Kakashi is with the power-up before the time limit runs out anyway. So with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and take a crack at this. Before we talk about anything else, I want to make sure everyone knows that this power-up did give Kakashi 6 paths power. This isn't just like regular Fourth War Kakashi with an extra Sharingan. He straight up tells Sakura, and I quote, "Gaining 6 paths power enhances one's ocular powers too." Now, the thing is, 6 paths level is a pretty vague descriptor. It refers to a vast range of different power levels, all the way from Ten Tails Jinchuriki Obito up to Kaguya. But fortunately, this version of Kakashi does do quite a bit despite his lack of screen time, so it's pretty easy to deduce how strong he might be based on his performance against Kaguya. One of the most impressive things about him is his speed. He doesn't really seem to have any trouble keeping up with Naruto and Sasuke, and he manages to land multiple clean hits against Kaguya. Not to mention, he's also shown reacting to multiple attacks from Kaguya, so I think it's safe to say that none of these examples qualify as outliers. Now, his power and durability aren't as easy to quantify. As a matter of fact, doing so might be impossible. We only really have one statement to go off of, and even then, it's questionable. Naruto calls Kakashi's Susanoo more awesome than Sasuke's, which could mean that its armor is more durable and its punches hit harder, but it could also mean that Naruto just thinks it looks cooler or has cooler abilities. It's impossible to several interpretations meaningful from this without making assumptions, and like I said, this is really all we have, but that's okay because, in my opinion, his power and durability are irrelevant. For the purposes of determining the outcome of any fights involving this version of Kakashi, all that really matters is his speed. Now, that might sound weird at first, but the thing is Kakashi can use Kamui, both versions of it in fact. As I've said many times in the past, Kamui is super duper overpowered. You could make a pretty strong case for it being the best offensive jutsu in the series and the best defensive jutsu in the series. Like, you can't hit a Kamui user, and you can't block Kamui either. As long as he and his opponent are relative in speed, Kakashi can dodge any attacks they throw at him, and can ignore their durability by combining Kamui with other attacks. Something worth mentioning at this point is that when Kakashi used Kamui against Kaguya, it was the best we'd ever seen it. First of all, according to Madara, using both eyes together doubles the speed of the jutsu.
Correct.
Which is a little crazy because it's not like Obito ever had any trouble using Kamui reactively. So this means that the window Kakashi has to react to incoming attacks is doubled. It also means that if Kakashi uses Kamui the same way he did against Deidara, or the same way Obito attempted to against Minato, his opponent should only have half as much time to react. Reason number 2 why Kamui was better than ever here is because Kakashi showed that he could use it in all sorts of new and unique ways. For example, his Susanoo had Shuriken that teleported anything they cut through into the Kamui dimension.
Yeah, that was very cool.
Combine the power of Kamui with the Raikiri for a similar effect, and when using Kamui the same way he had throughout most of Shippuden, he was able to teleport away one of Kaguya's dimensional portals. Not sure how he did it, but it definitely happened. So when it comes to this version of Kakashi, we're talking about somebody who the rules don't really apply to. He's got everything that made Obito so crazy, in addition to the version of Kamui that we normally associate with Kakashi, and he can cast Kamui twice as fast, and he has 6 paths powers, and he has extra Kamui abilities.
Correct.
So for those who are still wondering, yes, I do think he's stronger than Naruto and Sasuke. Stronger insofar as he could beat both of them in a fight, and could probably beat anyone that they could beat in a fight. Stronger is a bit of a weird word to use because, like I said, we don't know how durable he is or what his attack potency is. But what I'm getting at is that this Kakashi has the tools.
Alright, so we're about halfway through the video. I definitely want to get my thoughts on this very intriguing topic. Now, I believe there is enough to argue that this version of Kakashi was superior to those specific respectable versions of Naruto and Sasuke, right? The ones that were there during his fight with Kaguya, or his encounter with Kaguya when he got dual Mangekyo Sharingan. Now, from his feats and from various statements, well, I can't even say various, there weren't very many, but specifically the statement that Zetsu made, right, the one that he pointed out and that I spoke of earlier, you could argue that this version of Kakashi was relative in speed to Kaguya, a significantly more powerful Kaguya than the one that Naruto and Sasuke fought at the very beginning of their fight with Kaguya. So you can narratively imply that, because he was able to react to an attack by Kaguya, right? And he was able to tag Kaguya on multiple occasions. Now, from that, like I said, you can argue that he is relative in speed, and that's something that cannot be ignored. Kaguya is one of the strongest characters in the entire series. She's an Otsutsuki, and all Otsutsuki are god tier, all of them. So DMS Kakashi is most definitely god tier. Now, Swag's claim that he is superior to Naruto and Sasuke is more debatable. Now, Naruto and Sasuke were doing their thing against Kaguya, right? But I see where he's coming from. DMS Kakashi did take the lead, so to speak, as soon as he got both Sharingans, right? He took the lead, and he was a crucial piece in the defeat of Kaguya Otsutsuki. That I agree with. Now, the question is, how would have Naruto and Sasuke done against her without DMS Kakashi ever existing, right? Let's say that Kakashi never got the other Sharingan. Would they have been able to defeat her? Now, that's a question that we can't really answer for sure, but in my opinion, I believe they would have done what it took to defeat her. I think they still would have been able to. But as far as whether I think DMS Kakashi is stronger than Naruto and Sasuke, that's a tough one. I really can't answer that question. I'm just gonna say that Swag made a fair statement and a fair claim with that assertion. So that's my thoughts on it. It's clear that DMS Kakashi is god tier, but let's continue.
necessary to beat just about anyone else in the series. The only person who I feel comfortable saying Kakashi would lose to in a one-on-one is Kaguya, because she could teleport him to another dimension that he wouldn't be able to return to the real world from. Despite how well he performed in the fight against her, it did still seem like he was relying on Naruto and Sasuke to seal her. And no, by the way, that does not mean that they were more powerful than him, it's just that they were the only ones who could use Six Paths Chibaku Tensei to seal her. It's sort of like how KCM2 Naruto was more powerful than War Arc Kakashi, but Kakashi needed to be there in the fight against Obito because they couldn't do any damage to Obito without him. The fact that Kakashi's presence was necessary at the time isn't indicative of him being stronger than Naruto, only it's like the reverse case here in the Kaguya situation. Another character who might be able to beat Kakashi up is Hagoromo. Sticking strictly to manga canon, we don't really know what he's capable of. So
agree, that's fair.
All sorts of crazy, wacky abilities that make Kamui useless, or he might just be fast enough to make Kamui a non-issue. I'm not really sure. Six Paths Madara is also a bit of a weird matchup because I don't think Kakashi has any way to detect the Limbo clones, and he also doesn't have any durability feats, so if he gets hit by one of them, he might just die immediately. But if we assume he activates the Susanoo as soon as the fight begins, then he should be able to take care of Madara with a couple Kamui Shuriken. I know that Kakashi's actual body is significantly faster than Madara, since he was able to blitz Kaguya after Zetsu mentioned her speed increased significantly.
Right.
And while I personally believe that his Susanoo should be able to move at a speed similar to that of his actual body, I can think of a few ways to play devil's advocate with that. But even considering that, I do think that there's enough evidence to suggest that Kakashi Susanoo should at least be faster than Madara. When she was in her weird rabbit Biju blob mode, Kaguya's tentacles were fast enough that Naruto thought he should warn Sasuke about them. It's clear that he considered them a threat, and Kakashi was able to cut through them with his Kamui Shuriken, and you could say to that maybe Kaguya didn't have the awareness necessary to perceive incoming threats, since she had turned into a feral blob monster. But right after Naruto commented on the speed of the tentacles, Kakashi did swoop in with his Susanoo to save Sakura from one of them. So I think you can safely and definitively say that both in and out of his Susanoo, Kakashi is faster than Madara. It's a weird fight, and one that I'd be happy to elaborate on in its own video if you guys are interested. But in short, I think Kakashi would win, though there are a handful of different ways that you could argue Madara would take it. Setting aside his inability to perceive the Limbo clones, I think that Kakashi is definitely more dangerous than Madara, and would probably have a much easier time beating Naruto and Sasuke than Madara did. Given his speed, his ability to ignore any attacks thrown at him, and the fact that he can one-shot anybody with Kamui, I feel pretty confident saying that Kakashi is, aside from Kaguya and arguably Hagoromo, the strongest character in the entire series. That said, if you disagree, feel free to let me know in the comments or on Twitter. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I think that there's an interesting
some fair statements made by Swag,
so I genuinely look forward to hearing from some of you. And that's going to be all from me. Catch you later, and as always, thanks for watching.
Peace out, Swag. Great video.
Swagkage out. Bye.
Alright. There you guys have it. Now, definitely going to give my final thoughts on this topic. It's a very intriguing one, I might add. Now, again, gauging these characters at the end of Naruto. Demons Kakashi, Kaguya, Naruto, Sasuke, even, Six Paths Madara is very hard to do due to the levels that they are at, right? Now, what we do know is Sasuke himself said that Kaguya was anything beyond Madara ever was, even in Six Paths mode, right? Even when he had all three eyes opened, right? Including the eye above his forehead. He said that Kaguya was beyond that, so beyond that, right? So the fact that DMS Kakashi was able to inflict damage on a stronger version of Kaguya than the version that Sasuke said that about is something that just can't be ignored. And him saying that DMS Kakashi is stronger than even Sasuke and Naruto, Swag saying that, is not crazy. It's definitely fair. And do I agree? Due to the narrative implications, I think so. I think I do agree. I can't really think of a solid counter. I can't really think of a solid counter based off the various events that transpired and the various statements made by these characters. So I think Swag made a pretty fair statement and gave some very fair points on why that statement is true, or why it is most likely true. So yeah, I agree. Demons Kakashi was something. He was something to behold. Now, there's probably arguments against it, but Swag honestly made a very good argument. I was actually skeptical at first, but throughout the video, he just convinced me that DMS Kakashi is most likely superior to Naruto and Sasuke. And that's just the reality of the situation. I'm going to be honest. I was trying to think of counters for it. Maybe if you go out on a limb, I could say that Naruto and Sasuke beat down Madara pretty badly, right? Two-eyed Madara, I should say. And then three-eyed Madara didn't really get to make any real impact because right away Black Zetsu betrayed him. So we don't know how that would have went against Naruto and Sasuke. It's obviously narratively implied that that version was stronger than two-eyed Madara, which Naruto and Sasuke beat down, by the way. Could they have beaten down him? I don't know. We'll never know because we never got to see it. Against Kaguya, they struggled. They were able to tag her. But once again, I say this a lot. Kaguya is far stronger than Madara, but she's a very disoriented kind of person. Or not person, but entity. Very disoriented, not very mentally competent, borderline feral. I know Swag said, oh, she became more feral when she absorbed all that other shit, but she was already kind of out of it to begin with. This her various statements, her demeanor, just everything about her. It's like she needed Black Zetsu to guide her. Like it was her service dog or something, so to speak. She wasn't the most aware, and I honestly think it hampered her ability to fight. I think she's just not a very aware character. I'm going to keep saying it. It's just very easy to imply that based off her demeanor, off of the way she fought, off of the tricks that she fell for, like the sexy jutsu. You know, like you're in the most serious battle in the anime, and the villain falls for sexy jutsu. Like, come on. That just shows a very unaware, a very incompetent kind of villain. And that's what Kaguya was. She was extremely powerful, don't get me wrong. Extremely powerful. But she fell for that and got tagged by Naruto, I believe, after falling for the sexy jutsu. So again, there's always an asterisk in my mind when it comes to Kaguya. She's very disoriented. She doesn't have the intelligence of Madara or Ishiki, Boruto, or Itachi, or Pain. She doesn't have that kind of intelligence. In fact, her intelligence is very, very low. Very low. I would argue very, very low. So I guess that would be my best argument for DMS Kakashi. She's just not very aware in the first place. Even Swag pointed out himself. There's a possibility that she wasn't aware of the attacks being made by DMS Kakashi, like when he saved Sakura from being caught by that giant hand that she summoned. So again, that's probably my best counter to that. Now that's not definitive, right? Nothing said here is definitive. But I'm gonna say this: Swag made a very fair point and had a very fair claim, and had very fair premises to support that claim. I'll say that. Do I have my counters? Yes. But I tend to agree with Swag. I wouldn't disagree. But again, Kaguya is just a very dumb character. Point blank period. I wish Madara was the final villain. I think we all do. But yeah, guys, that's my thoughts on it. Let me know what your thoughts are on DMS Kakashi. Do you think he was God tier? Do you think he was above Kaguya? Do you think he was below Pain? Like some people on here really think that, which is really stupid. I really hope none of you believe that Madara or Hashirama or Pain could beat DMS Kakashi. Be real, please. But if you do, let me know. And explain why. I still want to hear it. But yeah, guys, that's going to wrap it up. This was a great video by Swag, as always. Let me know what your thoughts were on it. I hope you guys enjoyed the reaction and my thoughts on it, and I'll catch you in the next video. Enjoy the video, signing out. Peace.